One of the big questions is, what is money?
Practical purposes, it exists in a series of heterogeneous databases, very different databases.
Do you believe in crypto?
Digital currency may be an answer.
But it is the highly speculative asset.
I do own Bitcoin.
There is no second best.
Welcome to the Crypto Curious podcast, brought to you by the Bamboo app. Every Wednesday, we dive into the dynamic world of cryptocurrency. If you're new to crypto, we recommend starting with our early episodes where we break down the basics and give you a solid foundation to understand the crypto world. For the crypto curious, the seasoned addict, or the industry insider, we're here to help you unpack the latest digital news. My name's Tracy, and this week is not a normal week. I do, of course, have Blake with me, but because this week we are celebrating our 1 million downloads of the show, we have a recognizable face. We have the gang back together, the one and only, our original partner in crypto crime, Craig Jackson, is here. Welcome, Craig.
Thanks, guys. I'm back for one more show. It's like Oasis last year. Hopefully we get a bit of a bump in numbers because it's not cheap to get me back on these days, but I'm very, very happy to be back after a year or so out of the game, but still keeping up to date with crypto and keen to get into it today, actually.
Great to see you still know how to use the mic, Craig. Looking forward to this one, ladies and degens. We got some interesting things to go over. We're going to recap all of the things that have happened in the past 5 years that since we've started recording, and potentially what the future could hold as well as our usual news stories.
Yeah, so let's talk about what news stories we do have coming up this week, Blake.
That's right. First up, we have Trump media breaks up with crypto. They were planning on doing a $6.4 billion token deal, and they've chickened out of this one. Craig, what's next on the list?
We've also got an exchange that's suing a country. Bybit is actually taking North Korea to court over the biggest hack in crypto history, and this is going to be adjudicated by the US court. So that's something to watch because that has some geopolitical ramifications. What's happening next, Trace?
Then we've got Tether, who's moving into the desert. The stablecoin giant is tokenizing Saudi Arabia real estate. And this one is very interesting as Tether hasn't done anything quite like this before. So I'm really interested in this one, folks. 3 big stories there. But before we get into those, like Blake said, we want to take a moment and reflect on what has happened over 244 episodes of the podcast, almost 5 years, if you can believe it. And let's start by understanding when we actually started, because this is hilarious, folks. We started and launched the show in November of 2021. What happened in that month of crypto, Blake?
Yeah, well, we launched at the tippity top of the market. I actually think it was the day of the top. It has to be the same week, but it was the exact month that Bitcoin hit its all-time high at the time of around 69,000. The market was euphoric, and we thought we'd pick the perfect time to start a crypto podcast. And believe it or not, the price is actually lower than what it was for our first episode. So we have been cursed for 5 years, but we kept pushing. And what else happened, Blake?
That's right. November 2021, Bitcoin price was $69,000. Today, day of recording, Bitcoin is at 64,000 US dollars. So everything that's happened between now and then is just water under the bridge, didn't move the needle, and isn't helping us on the mission of, bringing blockchain technology to the world. So that's that. Hopefully the next 5 years, we're not back in this same position that we are now at the same price.
Yeah, but look, there's been some really interesting events that have happened along the way. What about Terra Luna, which wiped out around 40 billion the year after in May 2022? Celsius, 3 Arrows Capital. This was a big story, but probably none bigger than the FTX Sam Bankman-Fried story, boys.
Oh, I had Sam Bankman-Fried. I was so overhearing his name in FTX. I think we spoke about it for about 8 months. Every week, but it was just, I'm keen for the movie to come out as well, by the way, which apparently it's close to coming out. Have you seen that?
Oh, that would be good. On Netflix, is it?
I don't know what it's on, but it's happening, right?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was the biggest kind of story in the world. It felt like Bitcoin dumped all the way down to 16,000, and we're convinced that we've jinxed the market by starting to show. And we were pretty down the dumps, but we kept on recording, kept pushing through, and kept the mics on.
The narratives have come and gone, some interesting ones at that. And, you know, I think most importantly, we saw the big run up in price last year as a result of the institutional adoption associated with the ETFs and other, you know, traditional finance businesses buying in and building strategies around it, most notably Michael Saylor's strategy group.
Yeah, we did spend a lot of time on that ETF watch, didn't we? Like, when would they be approved? There were a lot of people talking. It did drag out for quite a while.
Yeah, and we didn't know what the impact was going to be. We didn't know if it was going to, you know, actually move the needle or not, but it really did.
And you talked there about other narratives, you know, and we do need to at least touch on the fact that we have seen meme coins, you know, have their peak pump fun era. And to be honest, they're still there. And I'm not sure whether meme coins will ever really go away. You've got Doge and Shiba who are still, you know, staying strong, and Pepe as well, Craig.
Yeah, well, we saw the meme coins have their day in the sun a couple of years ago. We also had the NFT mania peak, which crashed 90%. So we've got meme coins, NFTs, and it remains to be seen what is that next retail push, next cycle. I mean, do you guys have any ideas?
I think what was a real shame about the last cycle was that we didn't see an altcoin rally. You know, in previous cycles, we've seen those smaller startup coins and those challenger brands really get a lot of velocity and price appreciation. But we saw a lot of that mind share be eaten up by NFTs and meme stocks, which has been, you know, highly criticized across the ecosystem because, you know, the money invested into those coins could have been better spent elsewhere. So certainly, you know, hopefully we don't see that same level as hype coming back to those, you know, subsectors of the crypto ecosystem.
And I think the market is probably fatigued by these. I don't know if, you know, these style of run-ups might happen again. I mean, we even saw the President Trump launch a meme coin in January of 2025, which was the biggest top signal in history. And I think now we've just seen so many people getting burnt on these things. But in saying that, you know, these opportunities in crypto, if you hear about someone, you know, making $1 million from a meme coin, you know, these things do happen, but I think 99% of people have been hurt by this. So, I mean, I guess we just keep pushing forward.
That's right. You know, a big narrative that's been happening over the last 12 months, it's worth also acknowledging the amount of hacks and vulnerabilities that have been taken advantage of, no doubt, in part due to the adoption of, you know, these nefarious actors using, you know, AI to assist them in their, you know, seeking vulnerabilities. So I think this is, you know, not a narrative that's going to stop here, but will be something that, you know, we grapple with into the future.
Well, look, and through it all, the news that we brought to you every Wednesday, 1 million downloads. So thanks for everyone stuck with us all the way along. And look, we're going to jump into the 3 top news stories this week. But after that and the short, sharp news bites, myself, Blake and Craig are going to talk to you about what we think is going to happen over the next 5 years. So stay tuned for that, folks. But yeah, look, let's jump into our first story, folks. And we're kicking off with a bit of a reversal. Trump Media, the company behind Truth Social, has officially broken up with crypto. This has happened all over crypto Twitter this last week, sent it into a bit of a buzz. But on the 7th of August, they scrapped their planned $6.4 billion Crow token treasury venture with crypto.com. They shelved this and their prediction market plans and told the market that they're pivoting towards energy investments. What are your thoughts here, guys?
Surely this is jumping on the back of the AI bandwagon. We all know the hype around building data centers right now, building the infrastructure that all of these AI models need to operate and grow. So yeah, it seems like that's caught the narrative, and these guys are pivoting from crypto, like many other investors, to the AI trade.
Yeah, I think as well, Trace. I mean, I just want to preface with it as well. Like, Truth Social has broken up with crypto right now. I think when Bitcoin is back up and taking a bit of mind share, you know,
They're getting back together.
they're going to get back together. They're going to get back into it. Trump is, as someone who's defended him in the past, the grift is unbelievable at this point. He was charging $100,000 for people to get access to his Truth Social tweets before they went live. So I suspect that the grift will return in crypto, whether he does something with his meme coin again or he partners with something else. I think it is, it's a bit premature to say he's broken up when I suspect he will be back.
Interesting.
He's the final boss of grifting and scams.
Okay. All right. You heard it here first. Craig Trump Jackson. It's funny. I actually saw an interview just yesterday with Mark Cuban. He reckons that all of these AI centers will be pickleball courts in the next 5 years.
Oh, I did say that. Yeah. Oh, that's a call. That's a big call. I know he's interested in prediction markets because he was going to do a prediction market then went away from it.
It sounds like Truth Social should do a prediction market, and
predict all the things that they already know.
Yeah. That's great. Oh, it's a great idea.
Like, you got to send that thing to Craig that you sent me of the AI Baron. That was gold. I literally wear my pants.
Which one was that?
You sent Baron's. Was it you that sent me that? Baron doing that was gold.
That's funny.
Yeah.
We'll wrap that one up there. A temperamental relationship between Trump media and crypto. No doubt they'll be back to do more deals in the future, but this one they've put on ice for now. And with that, Trace, what's the next story?
Next one here, a bit of a wild one. Bybit, the crypto exchange, is actually suing North Korea, the country. This will be in court over that $1.5 billion hack last year in February. So this is actually the biggest crypto theft in history. And here's the kicker. This is actually going to be done in US federal court. So I'm not sure how this is done, but I read a little bit further. Apparently, this is all around actually just freezing the wallets that hold the frozen funds. And I wasn't even sure this could be done, Blake.
That's right, Tracy. So, you know, what Bybit can do here is, you know, sue the North Korean government over this hack. And, you know, if they are able to put forward a successful case, then it puts some legal machinery, some court-ordered freezes to give exchanges and stablecoin issuers and other intermediaries in the financial system the legal cover in order to freeze and seize North Korean funds, so then hopefully they can pull back some of the lost funds. Now, I don't think they'll be able to pull back all of it, but it does make, you know, it much harder for, you know, the organizations associated with the North Korean Lazarus Group. It makes it harder for them to operate. And hopefully, you know, they can get a portion of this cash or crypto back through these means.
It's probably worth as well just going back and looking at the timeline a little bit. So this hack, as Tracy mentioned, happened in February 2025. They were hacked for $1.5 billion. And you guys remember that? It was a massive sell-off. The market was super spooked. I think there was massive wicks down in ETH and Bitcoin at the time. And it was quickly attributed to this state-backed Lazarus Group from wallet trackers and chain analysis. And then this is the important part. So over the course of 25 and 2026, these funds were chopped up and laundered through different mixes, different cross-chain swaps, and investigators and the industry chased them on-chain. Now, this is important because I remember freezing wallets was a bit of a controversial thing at the time. It was quite anti-crypto to freeze wallets, but I do believe some cross-chain aggregators did, in fact, freeze them. And now this brings us to where we are now, where they're in court. And, you know, I'm guessing that if Bybit is successful, then North Korea might be hit with a Bybit tariff of some kind and maybe try to refund Bybit in that way, because it is a massive kind of geopolitical situation that we have right now.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll report on this when, you know, we find out what actually happens. But for now, you know, it does look like in its early stages, but I think creates a lot of precedent around what other actors could do if they are, you know, a victim of a state actor's hacking exploit.
I don't believe any user lost money. Remember, they were bailed out by Binance or something. They had the cash in order to cover the costs. Yeah, that's right. Wow.
So
that's impressive.
Yeah, incredible.
Wow. Okay, folks, let's move on to our third story. And this one is all centered around Tether, the company behind USDT, the biggest stable coin in the world. And they're expanding into Saudi Arabia, not with a stable coin, but with real estate. On the 6th of August, they announced their Hadron tokenization platform, which will be used to tokenize institutional grade Saudi Arabian property. And this is plugging directly into the Kingdom version 2030 modernization drive. So
I was going to say, I'm actually surprised and, low-key a bit bullish on this. So I think, the tokenization of real estate, I mean, if you think about how this will work, right now, obviously you buy real estate, it takes up your whole money. You can only borrow against it when it gets to a certain point. You pay fees. I think the tokenization of this and giving everybody the ability to invest in this asset is something that I think has appeal. Like, imagine if we all bought, I don't know, tokens in a Bondi apartment and we, borrowed against it because it went up 10x because of Sydney real estate. Like, I think this is something that will continue. And I just find it interesting that they chose Saudi Arabia real estate as their first area to kick it off with.
Yeah, no doubt it was supported by the government there to support innovation in the region, particularly associated with their Vision 2030, where they're trying to diversify their economy and do new and exciting things. We've seen tokenized real estate happen previously. I remember looking at an information memorandum of a ski resort in the US that was tokenized, and you could buy a little piece of it, and it was incredibly well executed. But I think it becomes particularly tricky when you want to trade and make a market around, those tokenized assets. So, yeah.
Are you saying that because you need liquidity to sell into? Is that why?
Liquidity is hard, yeah. So it has to be quite a large development. Not all shares could be equal, for example. And, often these projects are done one by one, not with, thousands or tens of thousands of assets.
I mean, does that mean that they've got a much bigger team now, Tether? We've always spoken about the company size and them having such a small team, but does that mean Hadron now, looks into these things a little bit deeper with a larger team?
Not too sure, but they have partnered with a couple of other companies to make this possible. Digital First acts as the issuer and the market operator for these tokens, and BKN 301 connects it to the bank and compliance rails. So maybe they don't need the bigger team. Maybe they're just partnering with others to make it possible, and they're just providing their expertise in order to make it happen.
Okay, well, look, I think it's definitely one to watch. We know that real-world assets are, the trend this year and in years to come.
That's right. All right.
Okay. Let's maybe take a break there, folks. And when we come back, we've got our short, sharp news bites, but also some thoughts from myself and the boys on what's to come in the crypto market over the next 5 years. We'll be back. We've added a micro-investing calculator to the Bamboo website. Just pick an asset, Bitcoin, Ethereum, gold or silver, set your amount and how often, then choose how far back to take a look. So say $100 a week into Bitcoin over the last 5 years, it maps out exactly how that would have tracked. So have a play with it. There's a link in the show notes below, or just head to getbamboo.io. Welcome back. You're listening to the Crypto Curious podcast, brought to you by the Bamboo app. Time now for our short, sharp news bites. Who wants to kick off first, boys?
I'll kick off with my old favorite topic, NFTs. Apparently they're back and it's Robinhood's fault. So they're having a moment again, and it's all kicked off with this NFT project called Stonk Brokers, which is a 4,444 pixel art profile picture that actually launches a free mint, and then within 2 weeks, the floor price had ripped into multi-ETH territory. Tracy, you messaged me yesterday, you said NFTs are back, and I was like, what? And then I jumped on, and the top 5 projects with volume are all Robinhood Chain backed projects. So that's an interesting one. This seems to be a bit of a new craze right now. There were each of the profile pictures were actually seeded with actual tokenized stocks like Tesla, Amazon, Netflix. And then 70% of the trading fees flow back to the holders in these stock tokens. So this is like a really interesting use case of something that's happening here. And Robinhood, I mean, has been absolutely nailing it. So I suspect that this could be a trend that might continue if they keep coming up with these unique use cases.
Yeah, I think it'll be around for a little while, but I don't know how long, because they're not just PFPs now. They're all backed by something. They're all slightly different. I can see a few more on the horizon that are launching over the next few weeks by some pretty big names that have come from the old space. But again, we'll just see on this one. I reckon it'll be big for a little while, but we'll just see how long it sticks.
Yep. And I think on a similar vein there with this next story, Elon Musk posts a raccoon video and the meme coin jumps 330%. So maybe meme coins are back when you start seeing this. So Elon Musk, he shared an AI generated raccoon video on X on the 8th of August. And he didn't even name a coin. But there was a coin called Jimothy, a Solana meme coin named after named after a rival Seattle raccoon, promptly rocketed 331%. So, ladies and gents, if you're looking for a good investment, look no further.
Oh, too good. Okay, up next, Grayscale wants to stake its $1.6 billion on this Ethereum ETF. So this is a big one for the ETF space. As I mentioned there, they're looking at staking their $1.6 billion. In plain English, what this means is that instead of the ETH just sitting there, it would be put to work earning staking rewards with the yield flowing through to those who invested in the funds. So if this goes ahead, this would be great for anyone holding their ETH through those ETFs. It makes sense.
Well, Bitmine's already been doing it, and they own, how much do they own?
The 5% of the network.
Wow.
5% of the network. So they're already staking it. So Bitmine's 10 times as big, 11.6 billion in combined holdings.
Well, if Grayscale does it as well, then I would assume that others follow. So that's
surely.
Interesting.
I feel like we're sleeping on Bitmine, by the way, but we'll talk about that later.
What's up next, Craig?
Sui is getting ready for the quantum era, apparently, Trace. On 6th of August, Sui announced it's integrating 2 quantum-resistant signature schemes approved by NIST, the US standards body, directly into the network. Now, I think this is a trend that may continue as we see some quantum doomsdayers come on the timeline. So they're claiming that this will be a smooth migration, and the rest of the industry is still kind of, trying to keep up with Sui. And they say that in a few years that these quantum computers will be enough to crack Bitcoin, which is the massive bear case that people are saying. Mm-hmm. What's your take on quantum computing? Like, should we be worried?
I think there's many protocols out there like Sui that are putting in place, the measures. So quantum computing, they're resistant to quantum computing. Mm-hmm. And I think that, obviously this is a bit of fear in the market, a bit of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Mm-hmm. But, the technology is there to make them quantum resistant. It's just a process of migrating the code bases across to incorporate, some of these measures.
Yeah, I still think it will end up being a little bit of that kind of 2000s Y2K fear mongering that's going to happen.
Well, nothing ever happens really, does it?
That's what I'm saying. And I think, like Blake said, a lot of the chains are already and have been for the last few years getting quantum resistant anyway. All right, folks, look, that's our last short, sharp news bite. But as we round out the show, as we mentioned up the top there, we want to talk about what we think might dominate the headlines over the next 5 years. And obviously, quick disclaimer, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't really know. We're probably wrong. So this isn't financial advice by any stretch of the imagination. But boys, what do you think? What do you think we'll be talking about over the next 5 years?
The big one is really real world assets. This narrative has been around for a long time, but we haven't seen it come to fruition at scale. We're going to see tokenized stocks, more real world lending that happens on chain. And what that means is that people are doing finance on chain in order to operate, for their personal or for their businesses. And this is a massively growing area. And we're seeing it through the success of, local startups or startups like Maple Finance or even Aave, which is a DeFi application. And I think this is going to 10x in the next 5 years. There's so much activity happening in the backwaters in this space. And now we have a regulated environment to operate within, and makes it much easier for this sector to scale.
Yeah, I agree, Blake. I think just to follow up from that, I mean, you can obviously borrow against your house, borrow against your Bitcoin now with some of these startups. I think whoever figures out how to borrow against tokenized equities or somehow gets equities into this world to borrow against, whoever solves that problem is going to be very rich, because there's a lot more money holding the S&P and the NASDAQ than there is holding Bitcoin. So I think giving the market the ability to borrow against that and for those tax advantages that's a big one.
Well,
That's
if you're
exactly right.
putting the numbers out there, Citibank has said that tokenized securities could be a $5.5 trillion market just by 2030, which is only 4 years away.
We are seeing now even local players, like you're seeing local crypto exchanges now getting into stocks. You're seeing stock brokers getting into crypto. So it's going to be very interesting over the next 5 years of who solves that problem.
I know, Blake, you've got some thoughts around AI agents and their integration with payments and crypto.
Yeah, for sure. It's always been the narrative that AI is going to natively use crypto because they don't need to sign up to get a bank account in order to do commerce on the internet. But I'm a little bit pessimistic on this narrative. I don't think that 99% of people are going to run their own agents outside of the main apps like, OpenAI and Claude. I think that this is a niche of people. And, I think that, there is going to be a lot of growth in the stablecoin sector, but I just don't necessarily think agents are going to be driving this volume like, many people out there say it is.
Do you agree, Craig?
I agree. I do think that, people that are on the edge, like in tech, will be the only ones that are using it. I can't see, my mum or my missus using an AI agent to book their holiday for them. I think
With stablecoins.
I just can't see that happening. So I do agree with you there. But I do think, how AI agents can add value is, bringing it back to the lending conversation of, can you find me the best return with this amount of money? And then maybe the agent goes on chain and tries to find you that return. But yeah, I agree. I don't think it goes properly mainstream.
I think it's going to be just as easy to issue a card with a limit on to your AI agent with $100 or $1,000 or with whatever task you have at hand, as opposed to it, creating and then using, a stable coin, for example. I don't think the barrier to entry for those activities is much different.
Yeah, agree. I got one for you, Trace.
Yep.
I do think that these nation states will come out of the crypto closet. I think a few years ago we saw the US talking about a Bitcoin Federal Reserve, which is kind of still in Congress, right? Yeah, so that still hasn't passed yet, but I suspect that when that does happen, we see a bit of a chain reaction.
Well, even here in Australia, Blake was over earlier was it earlier in the year or was it last year, Blake?
This year, yeah.
Yeah, speaking in Canberra about Australian strategic reserve. So
What's the scoop, Blake?
Yeah, well, DECA, our peak industry body, has created a working group for a strategic digital asset reserve, and we've put forward a paper to Parliament in order to get this one across the line. But it's not all as it seems. The first stage wouldn't include Bitcoin and Ethereum, but rather look at bolstering Aussie stablecoins because it's a strategic imperative in order to protect the sovereignty of the Australian dollar as it's eroding its value in the digital world or in the crypto world against the US dollar. And then a stage 2 or stage 3 would incorporate a strategic digital asset reserve. So we'll see how this one goes and keep everyone updated as things progress.
What do you reckon, Trace? What do you got for us?
Oh, look, nothing outside the box, to be honest. I think, as we've mentioned there, we spoke about the quantum computing, which I think will be dominant over the next few years, real-world assets, stable coins. I think you've hit your head on all the main ones there. But I think the biggest story over the next 5 years is probably something that we haven't spoken about because, as we said before, who would have thought that the president of the USA would be launching a meme coin? That was probably... So again, probably some really unusual things will happen.
All right. So just in summary there, ladies and gents, we're incredibly excited about the next few years. We're going to see lots of innovation and we couldn't be more bullish on the ecosystem. There's going to be so much innovation The sector is growing incredibly quickly. And we can't wait to bring the latest news to all of you guys in the coming years.
But I think we'll probably end the show there, folks. And a big thank you to Craig for coming back. It's been great having you on. Just slipped straight back in there as per usual. We'll get you back again one day. But while I'm thanking Craig, we also wanted to say a huge thank you to all the guests who've joined us on the show over the years. There's too many to mention or to name, but you know who you are. There's been traders, builders, analysts, and probably a few skeptics in there. But thank you to everybody who's jumped on and made the show what it's been and helped us to get to where we are now. We're very grateful. And for you, the listener, for the people who've stuck with us the whole time, we're very, very thankful. So again, thank you for being with us and diving into this crypto world today. Until next week, we will be back again. Stay curious, stay connected. You can do that by joining our Crypto Curious Facebook group, our Instagram page. We have a weekly crypto newsletter to keep you up to date. And hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening to us now. Send this episode to a mate who is getting into crypto as well. If you're looking to dollar cost average into the market, have a look at the Bamboo app and use the code CURIOUS to give you $10 of free Bitcoin. There's a link in the show notes below. Bye for now. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.